And we are live. Hello, how are you? My name is Shankar Ponsalay, and I am living off of crypto. Lots of passive income for crypto, lots of crypto trading, and I believe that crypto is the way where you can get freedom totally. I personally have achieved a certain level of financial freedom that has boosted my health and my energy. And that really matters most to me. And how do you like the song today, by the way? Usually the more like theme song that you with it. Is this an info moment?
Where coins hold sway, digital dreams make their way, dancing numbers night and
Yeah,
day.
so I really think it's amazing. This song was created with AI, as was the show image today. Let me show you. So entirely created with AI. Obviously, you can see it because there is a spelling error, but it doesn't really matter because the White House did shake the crypto market yesterday in its press conference, and I attended the White House press conference, not in person, of course, but we're going to talk about that. There were a few things said that might not seem super important at the surface level, but I think it is very, very strong what they shared, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get ready for a great show. Don't forget that you can at any moment put your questions and comments in the chat, and I'll address them as we go throughout the show. Let me also preface today's stream by telling you that really my primary goal is to create information that is both beginner friendly, but also lets you start your journey in crypto. And doing that in one of the best fashions is with a dollar cost averaging strategy in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the father of all crypto. And today we're actually going to talk a lot about Bitcoin and how I believe it will replace a lot of how the world is storing its value. Today is going to be a very informative show, I think. I have lots of visualizations here from a website that we will look at. And if you are in that situation where you want to start the journey, you're curious, you don't know how to do it, I really can't help everyone at once. I'm getting lots of messages also from my friends who want this information in other languages, but I have to start somewhere, right? So you can get it in English now. I have prepared a video that shows you in a beginner-friendly way how you can start your journey in Bitcoin. And to get it, all I need you to do is join my mailing list. So you can do so by going to the landing page crypto.lifestyle. You give me your email, and in return, I will send you a video with step-by-step instructions. Fantastic. So let's start the show by looking at a few things on the charts. So first of all, I want us to look at the Bitcoin chart. And why? Because Bitcoin is like an index for anything that happens in the world of crypto. So the way Bitcoin goes will also influence the rest of crypto. And what you can see here clearly is that we have something going on right now which we refer to as ranging. And that essentially means what you see, you have a lower boundary that is often called support, and that is around $92,000 and then we have an upper boundary that is often referred to as resistance. And what crypto does 80% of the time, it just bounces up and down between resistance and support. And then sometimes it breaks through either support or resistance, and we call that break of a trend, or we call that reaching a new level. And that is where things are getting interesting. So what's really interesting to me, as someone who also does some day trading and swing trading, is that once you recognize that there are these lower and upper boundaries, and you can somewhat predict the movement, not with 100% certainty, then you can buy low and sell high. Okay, but that is a little bit more of an advanced strategy. What most of you here will probably want to start with is the DCA strategy that you can find with the link behind crypto.lifestyle. So if we take a look at what I think Bitcoin could potentially do in the coming days, between now and, let's say, this would be the cycle top, right? And it is expected to be anywhere between May and November that this reaches the cycle top. Now, that's not 100% sure, but a lot of indicators show us that between May and November, we will reach the cycle top. And we don't really know how high it can go, but a lot of experts agree it will be around $120,000. Again, nobody can predict the future, so all of this is really just predictions. Now, what is likely to happen is that we will come down here, bounce off of that support, and then hopefully work our way up to break this upper resistance here of 100 and it's, let's say, around 105,000 US dollars. And that means that if you recognize Bitcoin hitting that lower support line and you buy into Bitcoin, if you want to do that, then there's still potentially a way up to $125,000. And that's not all too bad. I'm not saying that is what you should do. It really depends on your investor profile, but that is something you could do if you wanted. So yeah, always take a look at the Bitcoin chart. Do that every day, so you can start getting a feel for that movement of the crypto index, which is really Bitcoin, as I said, helping to guide everything else that happens in crypto. The so-called alternative coins will typically only move when Bitcoin is moving. Now, this is what I have for Bitcoin. Now, let's move to part of the conversation here that I'm very excited about. And that is essentially, I want to talk to you about something that was discussed at the press conference, which was the, actually this slide that I want to talk about, the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which would essentially be something super bullish for the world of crypto. And yesterday during the press conference, everybody in crypto wanted the officials to say the word Bitcoin strategic reserve and maybe give it a strong signal. However, that didn't happen. In return, other news was revealed that I believe is equally important, but the strategic Bitcoin reserve was addressed in one instance where essentially the officials said, we're going to do an evaluation of how the strategic Bitcoin reserve fits into the overall digital asset reserve plan that was part of a presidential order. And I think that is very powerful because there's a lot of moving pieces that need to be figured out of how you can legally and efficiently actually create a Bitcoin reserve. I do think that the largest position of that digital asset reserve will be Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is really the only equivalent to a hard asset that is now used in many reserves throughout the world, and that is gold. And gold, I even think it's a better alternative to gold for many, many reasons. For instance, the speed, and also the divisibility, the ability to send someone just a fraction of a Bitcoin within seconds, or a large amount within seconds. That is something you can do with Bitcoin. It's very difficult with gold. It would have to happen in the form of jewelry, which is actually a large part of the world's assets that I didn't know, but we'll learn all of that. But what I'm getting at really is that I think if I was part of the group of people who needed to implement the Bitcoin strategic reserve, I would wait for sure until I would get a great deal. So right now, as I just told you, we are going in the final stretch of the cycle where we expect the market top somewhere, as most people think, between May and November. And that would mean that the strategic reserve would purchase the Bitcoin at a very high price. While that is possible, I do believe that if they are smart, they're going to wait until this bull run is over and we go into the bear phase of the market, and then either dollar cost average into the Bitcoin reserve, which is what you all should do. Never financial advice, but let's say, which is what I'm doing, or they're going to find the market bottom where basically the bear market comes, and then there's going to be a bottom where the price of Bitcoin doesn't fall any further, and they're going to purchase them. That's what I think they will do. So that's why they are evaluating it right now, because they need to buy time to get the most out of the money that they will invest. Still great news for us as Kryptonians, isn't it? So the next part of what I want to talk about that was announced in the White House press conference was the Stablecoin Regulations that they will basically work on first. That is the main priority. They want to clearly define how you can, on an institutional level, transact and invest stablecoins into stablecoins. Now, for those of you who do not know what stablecoins are, think of a stablecoin basically as the equivalent of a dollar. So when you hold one stablecoin that is denominated in dollars, you always know that that stablecoin is worth $1, and that will never change. Obviously, that is very important because in trading, investing, and settling large transactions, you need to have something that is stable. And the United States and this administration wants this to be linked to the US dollar. That gives enormous power, because that means that the entire world who wants to be part of the crypto movement, which in my opinion is inevitable, has to buy into a asset that is linked to the dollar. So the dollar is the standard. I know that is very pro-American. I am definitely pro-American. I've always been. I also think that we are the best nation to set the direction of the financial future of the world. If you look historically, at least in the 21st century and in the 20th century, the US has always led with financial instruments that have shaped the form of the financial direction of the world. So yeah, that is the reason why the US government wants to have very clear rules around those stablecoins, because they are actually the most important element for massive, large-scale adoption of crypto. And that's what I want to get at. Everything that has value is, in my humble opinion, going to be digitized. And digitized means it will be tokenized, it will be brought into the crypto space. It has to happen. There's no other way for so many reasons. It is safer, faster, cheaper. It's going to be much easier to do financial development in terms of what is possible with financial instruments. So trust me, I am 100% all in and betting that the tokenization of everything of value is going to happen. It's only a matter of time. Even those asset classes that are not considered crypto will be managed and tokenized through crypto. And that leads me to an absolutely awesome website that I saw today in a training that I'll share with you right now. And I think you will learn quite a bit by going with me through this page. And essentially, here it is. So it shows all the world's money and markets in one visualization. So as we go through this together, first of all, we will learn about what money is, and also we will see the sizes of money and wealth. And I think you'll be very, very surprised. If you like this style of talking about crypto in a way where I combine it with real world examples and try to basically create links between why I think it is inevitable, then I think you should absolutely join my email list. So you know by now you can go to the landing page crypto.lifestyle. Yes, you type that into your browser, and then you'll have a video about me and what I do with crypto, and about how I get freedom through crypto, and you can sign up for my mailing list. So please go ahead and do that. Now, let's dive into this page. It is really so well done. I enjoy it a lot going through it. So basically how this works is we're going to start with this one black square that represents $100 billion, which is quite a lot of money for most of you, I would safely assume. And we're basically going up the different asset classes, and we're basically seeing how everything stands in relation to each other. By the way, give me a like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who you know is interested in these things and wants an approach to understanding it that is in alignment with how you see me presenting it. So we start off with this individual Sam Bankman-Fried, and this is all, by the way, this was done in 2022, so just so you know. And then we have the sports teams. We know there's a lot of money in professional sports, $340 billion US. And then here we have the cryptocurrency market. And this was, of course, the snapshot of the November 2021 peak. So what does that mean? At the top of the peak of the cycle in 2021, at one point, the cryptocurrency market was worth this entire rectangle. And then I guess when they created the page, it had shrunk a little bit, which is normal, right? We have these ups and downs in the crypto market, as we have just seen. So you can see here, after hitting a peak of $2.82 trillion US in November of 2021, the crypto market has fallen to $760 billion US. Again, now it is definitely poised to exceed that at the top of the current bull run. And then we have here, just to bring things into perspective, Russia versus Ukraine, the GDP, military spending, the US and China versus everyone else is just very mind-boggling to see that so much money being pumped into the military. Then we have the currencies itself. The currencies itself, I think most of us, we just think primarily in terms of our own currency when we look at evaluating what the worth of what we have in our lives. But of course, these currencies in itself have a value. And here you can see how they compare to each other. And this is basically where I tell you, I personally want the US dollar to be the strongest currency, obviously for reasons that I explained. Now, here's the one where I believe we will draw a lot of value from this asset class gold. As you know, the standard in value storage and value preservation currently, and I had no idea that such a large percentage was attributed to jewelry. I would be curious about your opinion here, but I had no idea that that was such a large percentage. So whether we have jewelry, bars and coins, central banks, and so on and so forth, there's still below ground reserves. And I think that this asset class in particular will lose a little bit over time to Bitcoin. Because, and I think that's also due to just the latest population growing older, they're going to be more in touch, they're going to have a higher affinity towards crypto. When I am at the gym and I go to the sauna, I always hear the side conversations of the people working out, right? And I think it's a great snapshot into the world of teenagers and young adults that I typically don't hear so much from, but they talk so much about crypto. They bring out their phones and then they show each other their wallets and exchanges, and they say, which coin do you want? I have so much of this coin. I have so much Bitcoin. Like, I never ever hear any one of these individuals saying, oh, I have X amount of gold bars or whatever. And I imagine if we went back 100 years and would be in a similar situation, they would talk about that, right? They would talk about the shares they own and the gold they have. But now it's crypto. So a lot of this, I think this will, in relatively speaking, shrink, and it will go into crypto and specifically Bitcoin. But that's why the stable coins are so important. Giving stable coins a regulatory framework is essentially giving governmental backing and approval of this asset class. Nobody can come anymore and say this is a scam or it doesn't exist, right? Crypto doesn't work. It's just not, we're past that point. I don't even want to have the conversation anymore because it is really a wasted time. So here's just, I guess this is interesting to look at. We have 2,668 billionaires in the world. That's they have all of that wealth. Then we have the central bank balance sheets, very interesting as well. And by the way, in order for crypto to really pump, as we say, we need the US Federal Reserve Bank to operate what it's called quantitative easing, and that means they put even more on their balance sheet. But that's kind of a side note. Now, here's, of course, the S&P 500. We all know that is the way how we evaluate the value of our major companies in the US. And that is how those shares are traded. And I just find it very, very interesting that we have over 25% are just part where does it say? Oh yeah, the 10 companies on the left make up more than 25% of the index, right? So just look at the sheer power these companies have. And this, I think, is also going to change in the future, where a lot of companies and projects are not going to have their valuation traded on the stock market, but it's going to happen through individual coins. And I think that is something very powerful because it is fast, cheap, and equitable. Okay, so here we have the GDP of the US versus China. I'm not going to go into the global money supply. We have the money in stock markets. I mean, just look at how much wealth is in the two US markets compared to the rest of the world. Absolutely crazy. Global debt. And then one thing that is extremely powerful, basically the biggest asset class, is real estate. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Scroll, 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 scroll. Woohoo! This is all residential real estate. Then we have agricultural and commercial real estate. Here we see how the global wealth is divided worldwide. So we have North America top, Europe, China, Asia, Pacific, and so on and so forth. Now, talking about real estate, I think this is also a big sector that will benefit crypto because it's going to be used for what is called tokenization. And that brings me to the last part of today's presentation, and that is linked to real world assets. So as I said, and I believe if you are still watching this stream, you agree, you are or you at least think that there's a very high likelihood that the technology of cryptography, of crypto and blockchain is here to stay, will go nowhere, because it is really a superior technology compared to how finances are handled and managed right now. If you agree with that, type agree into the chat. I would really be very interested in your opinion. So let's just assume for a moment that that is the case. Then that would mean that absolutely a big majority of the asset classes that we have just looked over will use the technology of blockchains, will use crypto to become quicker and more efficient, even if the focus remains on real estate for those investors, even if the focus remains on minerals or jewelry or gold. There needs to be, or art, art is actually a very interesting asset class too. There needs to be a way for those businesses in the future to be nimble, fast, efficient, and quick. And that happens through what we call tokenization. It is a niche called RWA, real world assets. So there have to be platforms and technologies out there that make it easier for someone who owns a building to take that building and to create what is referred to as fractional ownership through crypto. All of that needs technology. So far, the best way how you can create fractional ownership has been you create an LLC or some kind of legal company, then you issue shares or you issue certificates of ownership, and then you distribute these. So a lot of red tape, a lot of paperwork, a lot of bureaucracy, and it's just not an efficient way to do that. Often when you take a company public, which is referred to as an initial offering, that's not the word. That escapes me now. You know what I mean. If someone knows the word, type it in the chat to help me out here. But essentially, you launch a new company or you bring that onto a stock exchange. That is just extremely expensive and complicated, and all of that has to be made faster, quicker, and nimbler. And that is going to happen with the power of blockchains and crypto. So now we are in the super infancy state of all of this. We are at the beginning. IPO. So thank you, Nunya. I always get the question, is it too late to join this movement? And it's not too late. It's not too late, especially not for those of you who are not going to be traders and investors in this bull cycle, but for those of you who understand, I now have the opportunity to take a small part of my investment power and create a portfolio where maybe 10% of that money gets, or 10% or 5%, depending on your risk appetite, you should talk to your financial advisor about this, goes into crypto. And really, Bitcoin is like the equivalent of investing into the S&P 500. A lot of you have probably heard from financial advisors who, if you don't have time to trade the stocks, just buy a little bit of an index that invests into the S&P 500 and buy it every month or whatever. So the equivalent of that in crypto is to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. And it really doesn't matter whether we are in a bull or a bear, at the beginning or at the end of the cycle. It doesn't matter, because we're talking about an asset that right now is valued at roughly $100,000 per coin, and that inevitably will go into the multiple millions per coin. And I know this is hard for you to fathom. I know this is hard for you to believe, but I'm telling you that is going to happen. At least I am convinced of it. I cannot see the future, but I'm absolutely convinced of it. And I have a graph here that I always like to show when we get to that part of the conversation. And I'm bringing it up here so that we can look at it together. It's called the Logarithmic Regression of Bitcoin. So here on the left-hand side, at the bottom, you have the year 2011, and then the blue line is the price of Bitcoin, and of course the green line is the bottom that it sometimes reaches, and the red line is the tops. So those would be the cycle tops. Now, is a logarithmic chart, meaning from here to 100, it took 4 bands to represent it. But on the right-hand side, you see from 100 to 1 million is only 1 band. And we're getting into that zone. So trying to zoom in on that, we're getting into that zone. We are here. This is all data. This is all historical facts. And as I go to the right, to the end of this chart, this top line represents $1 million. And if we look at the timeline, it's in the early 2030s that very likely at some point Bitcoin reaches $1 million in value. I'm convinced of it. And if you are too, if you think there is a slight chance that Shankar is right, then maybe you want to start investing no matter when. And the best way to do that for a beginner is to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. And as I said, for me, I know that a lot of my network asks me, Shankar, you need to help me. How can I start doing that? Well, you can take one of my boot camps that I offer about once a month. I don't think there will be one in February, but there will be one in March. Or if you want to, if you're not patient enough and you want to get started, you just simply follow what I teach in my video. And to get the video, beginner-friendly video that teaches you how to start dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin, go to crypto.lifestyle, give me your information. You will get an automatic email that has a link for the video. There's also, for you visual learners, there's a link to a cheat sheet. And also at the bottom, you have all my social media channels. Why does that matter? Because I live what I am talking about. I walk my own talk. Bitcoin and crypto has given me a lifestyle that allows me to travel a lot, to do things that most people can't do. Huge flexibility, because I can be trading and operating from wherever. I can show you what my setup is here. Okay, so this is always my setup. So I need 3 monitors, ideally, and then I can make money. So on my socials, you see a little bit the behind the scenes as well. You see that right now I'm in Amsterdam. You see that by the end, when in the middle of the month, I'll be in the UK, in Manchester. Then towards the end of the month, I'll be in Cape Town. And then we'll see. I think Andrea, who is here, by the way, where is she hiding? There, you can see her. I think she wants us to maybe stay a little bit longer in the continent of Africa, see something else. I see Mahir, he will start buying Bitcoin soon via dollar cost averaging. Congratulations, that's amazing. I think you will be very happy doing that, Mahir, because yeah, it's just going to be life-changing. Not maybe immediately, but you know, once we get into the early 2030s, and your Bitcoin that you have slowly started accumulating is all of a sudden one Bitcoin is $1 million US, then you will see a big difference. Fantastic. Are there any other questions before I wrap up today's show? Yeah, my slides there. That's it. Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Where all are you watching from, by the way? Where are you watching from? I see 17 of you have stayed with me. That's really great. I love it because that makes this fun. What Andrea and I will do after I have wrapped up this stream, we'll head over to the, we're on the north side here in Amsterdam. You see the River Eye behind me. We'll head over to the other side and probably get some dinner, I would say. Nunya is from Texas. Oh, that's so cool. I am headquartered in San Antonio. Great state. Great state. Andrea says it's Edward. Oh, that's so funny. Mahia says, do you think there might be any big event before 2030 that might make that happen? You know, you're probably referring to reaching $1 million US. I think the big event really, when we look at these charts, really never in history has there been a strong global movement to institutionalize this asset class. And institutionalizing meaning that finally the big banks come in, the big investors, the BlackRocks of the world, the strategic reserves of the world. And once that happens, it really goes pretty fast with the evaluation of that asset class. And that is all about to unfold. And as I said, I think everybody's kind of waiting to see what the US is doing and how they're going to structure it, because very often in legislation and in policy, what countries do is they try to save money and time by copying or getting inspiration from other countries. See what they do first. How do they structure it? What approach do they take in terms of taxation and all of those things, right? So I think that in itself is an event, and depending on how fast that evolves, possibly we could see the million before 2030. Because don't forget, this chart here that I'm showing you is really based on a time where there's only it's very niche, right? There's only people like you and I who are a little bit more curious. It's definitely not the masses, right? You are part of a minority who, in my opinion, could be referred to as financial pioneers. And but now we're on the verge of making this really a globally adopted asset where people can actually purchase Bitcoin through their local bank and also hold it in the local bank account. The Biden administration had put a roadblock so that could never happen, and the Trump administration recently removed that. So now in any of the retail banks in the US, very soon you can buy and hold Bitcoin. Now, that is not the preferred way I would go, because you don't really hold your Bitcoin. The whole point of crypto is self-custody, freedom, and agency, meaning you have a seed phrase. That seed phrase represents your wallet, and you hold your crypto in your wallet. Any solution that is a custody solution where someone else holds your crypto, meaning the bank or the big crypto exchanges like Coinbase, is not self-custody and completely defies the purpose of the original idea of crypto. So yeah, getting off of a tangent, but hopefully that answers your question, Mahir. Great question, though. Great question. Great. I see no other questions coming in. Thank you for those of you who took their time to be with me on the stream today. I do this every day, and it's a lot more fun doing it with an audience that engages. So what else you can do for me is go and like this, subscribe, and most importantly, share it with someone who told you recently this Bitcoin thing is a scam, it'll never go anywhere. Share it with someone who likes my presentation style, where I combine it to the real world, and also let them know, like Shankar, he is actually not a crypto bro, but he's a seasoned entrepreneur. Before he started living off of his investments, he actually worked himself up to he immigrated to the US. He first was an employee in the US for about a year. Then he started freelancing, and he had a first business, a second business, and then he transitioned over into the investor class. So Modupe says, what are your thoughts on ADA staking? Staking is, I don't stake that particular coin. Staking is very interesting and definitely a tool that you can use to build up your wealth. But I prefer actually holding the coins in my wallets and trade with them. But staking, I don't know much about that ecosystem. But I do use staking in DeFi. When will alt season begin? That's the big question. When will alt season begin? Alt season will begin when, relatively speaking, more value flows into the alternative coins than is pumped into Bitcoin. And that typically happens towards the end of the cycle, because as Bitcoin reaches the top and the market kind of sniffs that out a little bit, investors say, well, there's not much more gain in Bitcoin, so I might want to shift into an alternative coin where I have more growth potential. And I don't have a crystal ball to tell you when that exactly will happen, but there is one indicator that can help with it. And that indicator is called the Bitcoin dominance. And what the Bitcoin dominance is a chart that compares the valuation of Bitcoin to the entire crypto market. So I can bring that chart up for you, or let's make this here a little bit bigger. Go to my trading view and then so it is known as BTC.D in trading view. So you can see here market cap BTC dominance. And essentially, to make this easy, when the Bitcoin dominance goes down, then money flows out of Bitcoin in a simplified way. And when Bitcoin dominance goes up, then money flows into Bitcoin, at least relatively speaking. So sometimes the Bitcoin dominance goes down, but the price of Bitcoin still goes up. But you know, it just, in a simplified way, think of it like that. So if we zoom out here, we take the weekly time frame, you see what we really need to happen for the alt season to begin is for this Bitcoin dominance to go down. So right now we have we can see like there's like this trend line here, okay, and I can see another trend line like so. So that kind of gives you an indication. But of course, what your question is referring to is, well, when is altcoin season starting? So, oh my God, my charts are playing with me here. So you essentially want this most recent trend to be broken. So this most recent trend is this one. So you look at the Bitcoin dominance, if it comes down here, once we are in this territory, that would be when alt season is probably beginning. Okay, so just go and look at the market cap Bitcoin dominance chart. Every day when you wake up, take a look at Bitcoin dominance. And once this trend line that goes up here is broken, here in this territory should be when altcoins are starting to pump. Do you think ETH will perform well this cycle, or will it underperform? What I can tell you is that when we look at the ETH chart in terms of, and compare it to the price of Bitcoin, we have this going on. Okay. And we look at a very long-term trend line like so. Now, what you can see is that, and let's go to the weekly view. What you can see is that this trend line here, and again, this is ETH compared to Bitcoin, this trend line here is clearly a support line that is observed. And what I'm seeing is that, for instance, here we had a touch point, then it went up again and touched again. We call this a double bottom, and then it started going up, right? So now we are in that situation where we had a touch point again, okay? Obviously, this was recent. This was 2 days ago or so, where actually the trend line was briefly even breached, which was kind of scary. But what we should look at now is this double bottom again, potentially, right? And then a way up. So I don't know. I don't have the answer to that yes or no. All I can tell you is what charts to look at to time your entry. But based on this chart, at least, comparing ETH to Bitcoin over a very, very long time frame, I would say that there is a high likelihood that if you catch that second bottom and you start investing there, there's a high likelihood that you get some good return on your investment. Awesome. Thank you for your questions, Arun. I will finish this live stream now. This was Shankar Poncelet live from Amsterdam, and I'll be here on this platform again for you tomorrow morning. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. For now, have a great morning, afternoon, or evening. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Dawns where old ones lay, crackers sparkle in the sky, waves of change that never die. From the pixels to the gold, future's tale unfolds, unfolds. Blocks are building trust anew. Every trade is fast and true. Whispers of a change.